think that they're on to me, you guys. I went in there and I bought 2 books of stamps. And the postal employee asked me, "Oh, wow, are you sending a lot of mail?" They know something's up.
So, a month or two back, I was talking to my grandparents, and I mentioned that I was looking into the family tree. To help me out, my grandpa dug out some documents that had been sent years back. Take a look at this. This letter was addressed to my grandfather simply with his name and north of the river with his city and zip. Obviously, that got me thinking. Would the post office still be able to pull this off? You know, with all this talk about the USPS struggling, delivery times getting longer, and mail going missing, I wondered if the United States Postal Service still has what it takes. So I did what any normal person would do, and I designed an experiment. I would have my friends across the country mail me 9 different, vaguely addressed letters from Denver, Portland, Chicago, Kodiak Island, Alaska, and right on the other side of the Twin Cities here, to my home in Minneapolis, and see how specific you really have to be to get your letter delivered. Now, before I get into the results, I want to just take a moment and go on a little bit of a digression here. It seems so normal that we just have street addresses all over the place. But this thing of ubiquitous street addresses is actually relatively new. Every piece of junk mail, every bill, every DoorDash order, and every next day Amazon package, also every ballot in some states, gets delivered directly to your home. And this is all because you have a street address. It's simple, it's easily understandable, it's sortable, and they follow a pattern. This is new. I'm putting up a link to a book here. You can get this in the description as well, called The Address Book. This goes much more in depth on this, but it talks about how addresses are a relatively new phenomenon, and in lots of parts of the world, they don't have addresses. And also some parts of the United States. Here I'm showing you some articles about how West Virginia is coming up with an addressing scheme, and they've been implementing that in recent years. Here's a Supreme Court decision recently about North Dakota's voter ID law, where in many cases people living on Indian reservations did not have a street address and therefore weren't able to get an ID and vote. So all of these letters would be dropped off. They go into their respective USPS sorting facility black box, and would they come out the other side? That was really the question. To make sure the post office couldn't use my experiment against me, my volunteers all sent me the letters at the same time. And additionally, I had them send the most vaguely addressed letter first, and then progressively send more and more specific ones. That way, the post office couldn't just find my address from the correctly addressed control envelope and use that to deliver the rest of them. I used a couple different variations. So I started out on God mode, the hardest, just my name. Didn't have much hope for this one because, for one thing, there's at least one other Nolan Bray in the United States. And also, I mean, come on, there's no way. So then we make it a little bit easier for him. Now we've got just my name and state. We're also doing my name and city. Here we've got, just like my grandpa's letter, this is my location in my town in relation to the river. Nolan Bray, east of the river, Minneapolis, Minnesota. Then we go to my neighborhood. And I'm going to stop showing you them now at this point. But here we've got just my street. We do a pretty good description of how to find my house. So, you know, like turn right at the landmark kind of thing. No zip code. My whole address, just no zip code. Then we flip the tables. Then we do zip only. And I actually thought this one would work because the zip code corresponds to the post office that brings you your mail. And I live right by the post office. And I'd talked to them previously about some unrelated issues. So I thought they might know who I was. They'd see a letter show up, Nolan Bray, and I would get it. And just to make my pseudoscientific study a little bit more scientific, of course, we have a control envelope that was addressed correctly. So what happened? Basically, they sent back almost every single letter. I got all of the controls back eventually. It did take a couple weeks. And I got this many of the street address, no house number letters back. But that's it. I'm not sure if there's a moral to the story, but support the post office, buy stamps, and if you're going to send your friends letters, you should address them correctly because they're going to send them back if you don't. Like, comment, subscribe.